I would like to invite you to the stage. So, Ms. Sauda Kasim Semo is the Deputy Governor for Financial Stability and Financial Deepening at the Bank of Tanzania. Interestingly to note, Deputy Governor Msemo is the second woman in Tanzanian history to hold this role. In addition, she has held key positions, including Commissioner for External Finance, and has led high-level engagements with institutions such as the World Bank, the IMF, and the African Development Bank. She chairs the National Anti-Money Laundering Committee, serves on the Generation Equality Forum Advisory Committee, and is a voting member of the Global Standards and Policy Committee of the Alliance for Financial Inclusion. Karibu sana, Deputy Governor Msemo.
Distinguished participants in the room, I understand we have members from public and private organizations, financial innovators, and all ladies and gentlemen, without forgetting the small one. Akoth Okeyo Hideo. I hope I mentioned your name. I mean, I pronounced your name accurately. So the founder and CEO of Small Hands and Big Changes. I thought it's very important to acknowledge her presence, but also acknowledge the accomplishments that I have just heard from the MC. But also, Angel, much as I wasn't around, but I would like to ride on the protocols already established. A very good morning to you all. Yeah, it's a great honor to be here this morning. I understand you started early and it's breakfast. Really, breakfast usually starts early. But I had other engagements and I just came from Dodoma, so bear with me that I'm joining a bit late, but thank you so much for giving me updates on what was happening in the morning so that I'm also on board on the program since you started in the morning. So it's really a great honor to be here this morning to deliver remarks to mark the official opening of the 13th edition of Impact Business Breakfast. In the outset, I would like to, first of all, to thank God for the gift of life and health that made us to be here today and really celebrate or honor this particular event. The message that I'm here to deliver resonates with both urgency and optimism. Tanzania is not only merely participating in the global financial revolution, we are pioneering it in different forms and use cases. Distinguished participants, today's theme, Revolutionizing Financial Inclusion through Artificial Intelligence and Digital Payments, represents more than technological advancement. It embodies our commitment to economic justice. Digital platforms have enabled tremendous access to financial services, but also usage of formal financial services to the tune of 76% based on the study in 2023, but we envisage to reach a minimum of at least 85% by 2028. So we believe that artificial intelligence and the digital platforms will continue to play a critical role. Our government, we understand, is championing inclusive digital finance through different ways, including designing and developing an interoperable national payment system, that is Tanzania Instant Payment System, but also crafting forward-looking policies and innovations-friendly regulations. So I believe that all of you are aware, or at least I would like to inform you that we yesterday launched a fintech regulatory sandbox. That was one of the missions that I had in Dodoma. So, and it was graced by Honorable Minister for Finance. Of course, our own governor, Bank of Tanzania, was there. So the sandbox, this initiative actually aims to enable innovators of financial technologies to test their technologies in a controlled environment, which is overseen by the Bank of Tanzania. So these are tested before rolling out to the general public. And this, of course, they will be rolled out if they are successfully tested in the testing phase at the sandbox. So with this, we aim to bring up a pool of competent innovators who will provide fintech solutions not only to Tanzania, but also the region and also the world at large. So our call is for the innovators to think critically and come out with solutions that target underserved groups, including women, youth, MSMEs, fishers, smallholder farmers, and people with disabilities. Of course, we understand while balancing with their business motivation. So these are the key special groups that we aim to ensure they are financially included by the year 2028 through our National Financial Inclusion Framework that we're implementing currently. So distinguished participants, the government cannot do everything on its own, so we need strong collaboration. I would like to underscore the real importance of collaboration. So we need collaboration between the public and private to make things happen. Here is where impact business breakfast comes absolutely crucial to our national strategy. So when seasoned leaders who built Tanzania's foundation transfer that is not easy to replicate. So when all these seasonal leaders, great thinkers, like minds, sit together, discuss issues, chart out the way forward, these outcomes from such sessions cannot easily be replicated. So I encourage all of us to use platforms like this one to dialogue, come out with the appropriate and relevant solutions to the needs of our people. In this regard, I call upon Impact Business Breakfast to keep on bringing together our nation's finance minds in one room, not only for the purpose of networking, but also for capacity building to our people. So, ladies and gentlemen, technology evolves rapidly, but certain principles remain irrespective of the time. So these include ethical leadership, which builds customer trust and sustainable growth. So veterans who build lasting institutions know that sustainable growth requires more than just speed. We need integrity. On that note, I call upon all of us to accord top priority in our innovations through integrity. So ensuring integrity is not a choice, but is a prerequisite for sustainable and well-grounded innovations. So most of the challenges that we are facing today in financial sector in particular, including those encountered in the provision of digital financial services, are a result of lack of integrity. Let us stand together to fight against malpractices and develop appropriate financial technologies with integrity. Ladies and gentlemen, the future belongs to those who are bold enough to shape it. And that future starts now with our small hands and big changes. So through artificial intelligence that understands Tanzania's realities and the digital platform that serve Tanzanians' needs, we can shape the future of our economy. I commend Impact Business Breakfast for creating this platform where knowledge flows freely, where experiences enriches innovations, but where Tanzania's economic future takes shape through collaborative wisdom. Let us use this platform to share the future of our economy. Distinguished participants, everyone here today, we are all here not just to witness transformation, but we are the architects of that transformation. So the conversations that you have had in the morning, but I understand you will have more afterwards, the partnership that you forge through this event, but also the insights that you share will determine whether Tanzania leads Africa's fintech revolution or follows from behind. So I urge all of us to be active and ensure that we are not lagging behind in these innovations. So let us build together, let us innovate together, and let us shape the financial future that every Tanzanian deserves. So the impetus for accelerated digital transformation starts here. The future starts now.
Thank you so much, Deputy Governor. I think you've told us that we haven't done our homework again. And I do believe we are going to learn from our panelists, who I'd like to call up to join the Deputy Governor for a photo, please. Eric Masinda, FSDT CEO. Mr. Omari Issa. Can I also invite up to the stage Angelica Pesha, and thank you to Mix for powering the Impact Business Breakfast and being our sponsor today.
We can't do anything if you're not getting the right support from our regulators, from policymakers, because we need these policies, the right policies. Policies that are going as fast as the technology that we are having, in order for us to not be left behind. I will say that again. Policies that are going and regulations that are going as fast as the technology is going. We cannot have a big difference between the technology and the policy. We will not harness what we want. So that is a key activity that we need to keep doing. And all the policymakers in the room, I call on you to look into this and see how faster we can move. I'm not looking at anybody. No, I'm not. Okay. So government partnerships, if we're not partnering with the government, we can't go faster. So we've done a lot of partnership. One of the big success stories I also talk about outside this country is the GPG success story. Very good initiative with the government. We're doing very well. We're talking about the tips. Very good initiative with the government. These are helping move us faster to where we want to go, and these have to continue. So we need to continue with the right collaborations. But one of the big things is, if we're to move faster, don't we have to get the entire government digitized? I'm just asking. What do you think? Yeah? Sounds like something we can do? All right, so we are also looking at we have a lot of policies, a lot of frameworks that are supporting digitization, and we understand one of the key things that we are all here as leaders in the room, policymakers, we want to be a digital economy. So the digital economy needs a lot of activities. We need to make sure we support the digitization as fast. We're talking about cloud computing. Do we have the right understanding? Do we have the right support system from the policy and regulation perspective? Is it something we need to relook at because it changes very fast? What we were looking at 2 years ago and what we're looking at today could be different. So how do we make sure we have some of these conversations happening and policies and regulations changing as fast as possible?
Representing the voices of young girls across Tanzania who aspire to be leaders, innovators, and active participants in our nation's digital transformation. With my organization, Small Hands Big Change, we run climate clubs, leadership games, and girls' democracy camp. But now, we are starting something new. Money matters for kids. We have taught stories where girls run businesses, use QR codes, and make mobile payments, and even design their own bank of the future. We are not pretending, we are preparing. Dear grown-ups, our ask. So here's what we ask from you, the leaders, the bankers, the builders of the systems. Don't wait until you are 18 to include us. Create AI tools that speak to children, not just CEOs. Build digital payment systems that are friendly for mama and their daughters. Help us learn not just ABCs, but mixed by yes, blockchain, and entrepreneurship. Give us a seat at the table. Hear us out. We are not clueless. We know what we want. Include children and youth in programming. Let us be central to it. We are your now customers. Foster mentorship and leadership, nurturing our aspiration and guiding our career paths. We don't want to be behind. We want to be beside you.
So we heard from Angelica this morning that globally financial inclusion has surged from 51% to 76% in just over a decade. And Africa is leading this revolution through mobile money innovations that really have leapfrogged traditional banking. Deputy Governor Msemo mentioned the remarkable progress we've seen in financial inclusion, with financial inclusion rising from 65% to 76% between 2017 to 2023. And this has largely been driven by the rise of non-banking financial services, in particular mobile money. With 89% of the population living within 5 kilometers of an access point. If this doesn't scream opportunity to you, I don't know what does. Mobile money payments have reached 6.4 billion transactions, worth 199 trillion in 2024 alone. But here's the challenge. While we're aiming for 85% financial inclusion by 2028, and of course we've been reminded that inclusion at the moment means special groups, people with disabilities, women, youth, and people within the blue economy, 2028 is in 4 years. It's around the corner. And if we want to get there, we're really going to have to think about revolutionizing our approach through AI, through digital payments, and really bold collaborations. So our panelists today represent 4 pillars that we're thinking as we make this journey towards 2028 and beyond, we can achieve this. Policy and innovation, technological infrastructure, evidence-based implementation, and transformational leadership. So our discussion this morning, and again, the gauntlet was thrown both by Angelica and by the Deputy Governor. Our discussion this morning is not just about ensuring that achievements transform lives and positions, but how do we position Tanzania as a global model and not a follower? How do we become the leader? And to kick us off, I'd like to start off with a little bit of foundation. Eric, if we can come to you. When we think about the work you've been doing at FSDT, right, the breadth but also the depth of the work that you do at FSDT, what innovative financing models are you seeing are the most effective in bringing the underserved into the formal financial ecosystem?
On the regulatory side of things as well, the power of AI and and digital payment systems, as the Deputy Governor had mentioned, I think Angelica mentioned as well, the Tanzania Instant Payment System, and how it and how it sort of enables you to do your transactions instantly and you receive your notifications instantly. So that also, in terms of generating enough data on people's transactions, is is also another use case, sort of AI. But in terms of banking supervision as well, as more and more financial service providers go onto the digital space, you end up having, it ends up becoming a lot of work for the regulator to be able to regulate and adequately cover all these service providers. So what we're currently working on with the Bank of Tanzania is on a price comparator tool that utilizes AI, but also that's going to be able to look at, to utilize AI to look at different complaints that are being raised by customers on their experience, with financial service providers. So AI also has, can also enable regulators to more efficiently regulate the sector in order to provide a better consumer protection experience for customers. I'll get to your question around what innovative financing models I think can work. One of the other projects we are working on is a Finance for Growth program, which looks particularly at at your micro and small enterprises. We'll be combining a combination of grants, but also of loans with selected financial service providers, so that those who do actually perform well with the grants, whether it's for capital expenditure or operations, that they're now, that the financial service providers are now able to sort of pick up on. Where, from where the grants leave off, and also doing a bit of capacity building around utilization of alternative data so that you're better able to have a better view of your customers. So this goes primarily towards the micro, small, and medium enterprise segment, which actually does create a lot of the jobs that are going to be, in any economy. So there's a lot more other things that we're doing, but I'll stop for now and pass it on to someone else.
Thank you, Eric. And because you raised something that we haven't really touched on this morning, and that's consumer protection. I'd like you to maybe break down a sandbox for us first, but also how can the use of regulatory sandboxes and also adaptive policy frameworks, and this is what we've heard Eric say, this is what we've heard Angelica say, this is what we heard the Deputy Governor say, this need for adaptive policy frameworks. So how can this couple, regulatory sandboxes, adaptive policy frameworks, accelerate artificial intelligence-driven financial inclusion, but still ensure consumer protection, which is definitely, for 61 million plus Tanzanians, is going to be something we're thinking about. But first, please, could you break down sandbox?
Thank you very much. It's really an honor to be in front of this prestigious group talking about artificial intelligence with financial inclusion, with flows of money into the economy. So as you rightly said, I think I would like to applaud the efforts of the government, the central bank in particular, for making these major milestones in terms of really welcoming alternative thinking in driving financial inclusion. I think most of you are aware that the question of sandbox has been there for some time, and I'm glad to hear that it's only yesterday that this was launched. So I think a hand of applause to the central bank and to the government. So I think in a nutshell, sandbox, of course, those who imagined if you're in the beach on the sand, and how you can learn, in a free environment without any limitation. I think that's where the concept started. The imagination, that we needed to really make sure that money can flow faster, easily, but solve a specific problem. Of course, the use case was send money home at that time. But what it is giving, the parties, so the regulators and practitioners, the researchers, the analysts, the tech people, to imagine a solution and test it. Testing means what? Giving each party an opportunity to learn from each other. One of the reasons why sandboxes were created is because there was always the difficulty of the regulators to accept an innovation because of the fear of unknown. What it would do to the system, to the financial system, what it would do to the customers, and if those risks crystallized, what could be their remedies? So the lack of those, solutions or answers to complex problems or questions led to the sandbox. But then, how do you go about it, and who should have a hand or a mandate on the sandbox? Again, since markets are not necessarily free per se, you have, the government, institutions that are overseers. Therefore, the regulators have an upper hand in every market you talk about. But I think the issue here is the readiness of the government, the readiness of the regulators, the policymakers to sit together with the innovators. So in a nutshell, it's thinking together, coming up with a solution, testing the implications, the viability, the desirability, particularly the impact of this solution to the market. So now coming up to the whole policy approaches, I think, my point would be, that based on the impact that is needed into the financial system. So at least for us, we have a good story. Way back in 2006, our financial exclusion, not inclusion, financial exclusion was around 58% of the adult population. So here we talk about 76%, which means we have leapfrogged everything. We have, if I speak in Kiswahili, tumepindua meza. Sivyo jamani?
Thank you, Sosthenes. A lot to unpack. And so, Angela, I'd like to come to you to unpack some of what Sosthenes has shared. In particular, this potential for innovation and the fintech potential for innovation. And Sosthenes really asked a deep question is, what is the AI doing to help the informality of business? How are we connecting the dots? How is Mix connecting the dots? How are fintechs like Mix partnering with banks? You're partnering with MFIs. You mentioned some of the partnerships with the government. How do we really think about scaling the digital wallets that we want? Eric talked about credit scoring. How are we thinking about scale for credit scoring? So from a fintech perspective, from Mix's perspective, what is that innovation potential and what are these collaborations? And the Deputy Governor also talked about bold collaborations that need to be happening.
Thank you so much. So from the perspective of fintech or mobile money, I would like to just remind us, and the technology or telco in general, we are at the center of everything. I don't know what we can do today without technology in terms of telecom, or what we can, if any one of us can actually do anything without their phone. For those who saw my phone, I stayed without my phone for a few minutes and I started panicking. It had to come here. Now I'm very safe, very happy. I have my phone beside me. So this is what technology has led us to, and the innovations, different fintechs, different technology innovators, we've reached where we are today. But in terms of collaboration, I would like to take us back a bit. We talked about interoperability, one of the big success stories of Tanzania globally, in terms of bringing all players together for money to move seamlessly from one wallet to another. So this was one of the big innovations in 2014 and has helped in terms of growth of the sector and also growth of the wallets, because at that point we were thinking maybe it will diminish one player against the other, but it was simply increasing the pie generally. So we are all happy, and interoperability is one of the key success stories, and this is why we've leapfrogged to some of the innovations and use cases in Tanzania compared to other markets. Even our friends in Kenya have just had interoperability recently, but we've had it since 2014. And that is the essence of collaboration, because that was the beginning of the industry collaborating into bringing something that was very important, that has helped the growth of the industry. Again, another aspect to talk about, just speaking from Sostenes in terms of powering businesses, trade, is IMT, International Money Transfer, with currency conversion. This seems a very normal thing today, but in 2014 is when this was introduced, and it was a very big innovation. Again, proud to say it was first in the world from mix, first in the world from mix. This is where you clap. Guys, first in the world, not in Africa, not in East Africa. So, but today we know IMT is one of the biggest ways we are getting value from diaspora back into the country and supporting trade. So that is a big innovation. Again, our collaboration, because you couldn't have done it alone. We needed a partner on the other country. We needed a partner. We needed technological partners. So this is the power of collaboration.
Thank you, Adela. So we've heard about regulation, we've heard about partnerships and collaboration, we've heard about the people that we build for, from Eric. But I'd like to come to you, please, Mr. Marisa.
How many financial products do we really have in the country? How many? Everybody talks about credit, 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 loans, loans, loans. So the result, as we have seen, is yes, there's an impact on financial inclusion, but at the very micro level. Very micro level. And if you look at the data in this country, you will find millions of businesses at the micro level and a few at the higher end. The mix, the Coca-Colas, etc., etc. And there is almost nothing in between. This is the small and medium enterprises. The small and medium enterprises. And you look at Germany, 60% of the economy is on the SMEs. You look at all big economies, the small and medium enterprises are the backbone. And we don't have those in the country. We don't have them. I was talking to a few of those who are here during the break. They would like to go to that stage, but they are stuck. They are stuck because the financial institutions we have in the country predominantly offer loans and offer loans for working capital. Very few offer long-term loans of 10 years and above. Very few offer $5 million or equivalent and above. And these will not actually help these micro enterprises. And let me give you an example of the mining sector. You know, we all complain in the mining sector about lack of value addition. We all complain about the presence of foreign entities in the mining sector. I have been to places in Mwanza, in Mara region, in Geita region, in Shinyanga region, and I have met young Tanzanians who are working literally 24 hours a day just to survive. And if you talk to them, they'll tell you they cannot go the next level up because there is no way to finance their activities. The most they can get is $500,000 or so for working capital or for buying a plant, and payable within 6 months or maximum a year. Now, if we had the right products for these individuals, what would happen? These micro enterprises would go into the small and medium. What these small and medium enterprises would do would create not millionaires, but billionaires. These small and medium enterprises would have share options for staff. Okay? So I'm talking about financial inclusion at a very different level that would really transform the country. How many fund managers do we have in the country? How many? If I ask a Bank of Tanzania, how many fund managers do we have? Probably zero. You go to Kenya, you find plenty. You go to South Africa, there are plenty. These are managers who will sit down with the likes of Akot and others and structure a deal so that you can get long-term financing. And then the other aspect is, where do I go in this country to mobilize equity funding? Where? Where? And you cannot really start a business, any business, even the very small ones, and that's why we have, the huge risk at this level, is because mtu anasema nina mtaji lakini amekwenda kukopa mtaji.
Sorry to say, but if your product doesn't it's like financial services. If it doesn't add value to my life or it doesn't add value to my bottom line, why would I use it? Why would I invest in it? So I think, as Mr. Issa said, the same way we need to have, like we need to change sort of our minds, like it's part of like what he said in terms of changing our mindset, that I want to grow from micro to small to medium and eventually, like to large. But to do that, it's not money that'll get you there. It's, are you actually solving for a problem that people have? Or are you, or are you sort of, like innovating because it sounds like it's a good idea to you and it's something that you're good at? So for me, I think in terms of pipeline development, it's a mindset shift, but it's a mindset shift in terms of being solutions oriented and developing a product that actually from the beginning stands a chance of viability and being invested in. So
I want to ask a follow-up question if I can. How long does it take, and FSCT, and uses a design thinking approach, how long does it really take to understand the problem, Eric?
How long does it really take to understand what the problem?
The problem, yeah. Is it a 1 day, 2 day, 1 month?
I think it's a process, and it's different for, and it's different for different businesses. There are some who will get it right on the nail. There are some who will have to go through several iterations. So, not to piggyback on what Angelica said, but you have to learn, unlearn, relearn, constantly evaluate, reassess until you arrive at something that's viable.
I'd like to open it up to the floor for comments and questions for a few minutes before we jump into round 2. And because Freddie said he's from Wingu, and we haven't really talked about, Wingu's a career-neutral data center in Tanzania, but also working across East Africa. Freddie, if you can just weigh in for a couple of minutes before we open up, and the rest of you, please be thinking about your questions or comments for the panel. Let's talk about digital infrastructure. There are gaps, right? We know energy is a huge issue when it comes to data and AI, right? But listening to what we've talked about now on the panel, and with the Wingu lens, what are the most pressing digital infrastructure gaps that will limit our financial scalability?
I mentioned about digital infrastructure. I want to echo something which is mentioned by most of the panelists about collaboration. And as a country, as a nation, if we want to go far, we need to go together. So collaboration means a lot. And the digital infrastructure will help us go fast and far. Why? Because if there is an innovator, like our beautiful girl, she will need infrastructure. But she cannot raise the fund to build the infrastructure where she can keep the content, she can reach many people. So infrastructure plays a crucial role on this environment. So some of the key infrastructure, and I'm happy Mixed by Yas is here, in terms of the last mile. The last mile could be the physical connection or the mobile connection, which is now play a crucial role in terms of inclusion, because a local farmer in the village selling mpunga or selling mandazi can get the money from the son or the daughter who is in town. So that reachability has improved a lot. However, because we are mentioning about AI in this discussion, AI is crucial. And AI is not hanging anywhere. AI is sitting in the digital infrastructure. And these digital infrastructure are called data centers. And these data centers are the places where the heavy, high computing machines are processing these algorithms so that a request or a comparison or analysis of a user, a pattern of a user is processed so that an informed decision can be made. So infrastructure like connectivity is very important. They call it digital highways, so that the speed of connecting and accessing your content is very important. But this content, this application need to be sitting closer to the user. And that's where data center players come into the picture. Wingu providing carrier-neutral data centers helps to make sure that the content is closer to the user. However, since we have the regulators and the policymakers, data need to be hosted in the local country. So they call data sovereignty. That is very crucial, so that as we move fast towards this development, we need also to keep complying with all the policy and regulations so that everything is safe and very important. Angelica mentioned about how cybersecurity plays in this picture. So this content sitting within the country is also one step ahead during security. Having mentioned that, at the end of it, it's important we send this knowledge to the different stakeholders, different people. So events like this give us an opportunity to get informed, empowered, and enabled, as well as to be inspired, so that after here, a young girl, she's already a founder or a CEO at the age of 10. Some of us are 40, 30, 50, still updating our CV. So it's a very, very important lesson. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Freddie. Thank you, Freddie. So we've heard about models around leadership. We've heard about innovation. We've just heard about infrastructure. We've talked about regulation. I want to open up for questions or comments from the floor around the foundations we've just talked about. Anyone else with a question or a comment? Okay, one. We'll take two. Okay, we'll take the four. So we'll take all four. Thomas, if you could help us with the mic, thank you. Can we give Thomas a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen? We talk about being bold and taking action. Thomas jumped up and said, I'm here. So your name, organization, who you're directing your question to. We'll take all the questions or comments first, and then we can see who's answering them.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Gratitude Malisa, and I'm from Sign Offer Consultants. We deal with tax consultation and business consultation. My question will be to Madam Angelica from Mixed by Us. Thank you very much for your presentation. I would like to ask, what measures are in place to combat fraud and money laundering, especially in the mobile money? I can talk from my own experience. I do not use Mixed by Us, but sometimes when I send money to a person who uses Mixed by Us, the number does not come with the name. So then I get scared is this the right number that I'm using or not? So then the issue of, I can say, utapeli has been much in this mobile network. So how do you assure me that this is the right direction to use mobile money as we talk about AI and financial inclusion? Thank you very much.
In terms of where we are, in terms of connectivity, which is really, really impressive when it comes to 70-something%, all right? That's really mind-blowing, you see. Now, connectivity is a foundation. Foundation for what? When it comes to Mr. Omarisa, now we're looking at the financial inclusion, all right? Now, the money flows, but we need business growth. You see? Now, the transactions we are talking about is moving 1,000, 10,000, 20,000, but that's not on the business side. And the connectivity has done really good job because, for example, on our side, on oil and gas, we can sit here and transfer a lot of money, and the business is going over there. But how do we make a step from where we are to another level, which means we need that sort of funding? And the only platforms we have for businesses right now, mostly I can say, is through banks, which means loans. Come back to what Mr. Omarisa was talking about. Now, on the loan side of it, you've got the policies and everything with the banks, which means, for example, coming to trading. Trading in Tanzania is still on cash basis, and what you have is what you put on a cash flow, all right? But you can push your cash flow up based on the frequency of the business, you know how you're doing. But when it comes to, you move, let's say, from 100 million to 10 billion in 2 years. Now you want to facilitate your business with $5 million, all right? You go to maybe the banks, because the banks are the only places you can go right now, I think. You know, these things like cloud funding and whatever it is, they are not there, you see? No, the connectivity is there, which is perfect, and we applaud you guys for that. Now, when you go to the bank and you want maybe $5 million, they are going to tell you that you have to put an asset worth 125%. So I think what we really need to do is we applaud what has been happening, and it's a great job that has been doing.
My question will be very simple, and I would like to use Swahili so that everybody can understand. I heard Mr. Omar Issa saying about the funding issue. And nimsikia Mr. Omar Issa. Thank you, John. Mr. Omar Issa ameuliza kuhusu masuala ya uwekezaji kwenye masuala ya kupata fedha kama mtaji na masuala ya ujasiriamali. Sasa, my question goes back to him and the panel. Majibu, Kiswahili kigumu. Kwamba hii platform imeundwa kwa ajili ya biashara, which is very good. We discussed this, I think, the 13. Kuna kitu kimejitokeza sana kuhusu ushirikiano, collaboration, partnership, kushirikiana kwenye biashara, lakini naona kuna mambo kama mawili yanashindana hapa. Nikitumia neno la Kiingereza, ni tatizo liko kwa funders au tatizo liko kwa entrepreneurs? Nikisema hivyo pia, narudi tena. Ni kweli wafanyabiashara wadogo hawakui. Hawakui kabisa. Wanazunguka kwenye duara. Wanazunguka kwenye duara. Tunaona, na ndio sababu sisi tumeunda vikundi vingi ili kujaribu kutoka kwenye hicho kitu. Lakini naona kuna haja ya kubadili fikra kwanza kwa hao wajasiriamali na kubadili fikra kwa hao watoaji pesa pia. Because hao wale lazima waongee lugha moja. Lazima waongee lugha moja.
Yeah, when we were talking about AI in accelerating financial inclusion, then I thought of something which is worth noting, the new trends in artificial intelligence globally, and even in Tanzania. You have asked question to know the apps that were made in Tanzania. Well, there are not many apps, but I understand that among the new trend is WhatsApp banking. And some of the institutions have pioneered. We have some of the institutions like Mixed by us and others. Some banks and electronic money issuers, they have moved to where customers are found. And I can think most of us here, if not all, are using WhatsApp. And so in WhatsApp now, someone can not only inquire about their financial services, but they can have financial services. And I've tested products from some of these financial institutions. You can transact and get many services via WhatsApp. But there are risks and concerns on how on how these companies ethically and responsibly adapting these AI technologies. So there are things which need to be checked in order to avoid lowering the trust of customers. I hope there have been discussions on this, and I remember there was a session which I think we made it, okay, it was in Protea last year, by financial competitors, fair competition analysis. Another thing, another trend that is worth also knowing is on open banking, open finance is one of the trends. I hope sometimes we can have a discussion on that. Open banking, open finance, whereby data is owned by consumers, and there are protocols on how institutions can share this data, but involving the consent of consumer. And probably these two trends can make people not needing to have many applications, probably one applications of one of the company. We have seen it in other people. It made transformation. A customer can have one application of one company, but can transact using with other financial service providers.
We are discussing about the transformation, but we are forgetting the fundamental point whereby I understand the government. I'm glad that there's somebody from Central Bank here. Where are we on DPI strategy as a country? Digital public infrastructure, where are we? Because that is a fundamental for our transformation in terms of digital acceleration. We are talking about the super, we are talking about the AI, but if we don't have a government in place to provide the infrastructure, I've seen this in many countries, actually in Africa now, each country is adopting the DPI just to influence the private collaboration, partnership with the private. So the fundamental point to ensure whoever is concerned here, maybe we could get update on where are we in a DPI establishment. That is a fundamental of digital transformation. The use case is there. India, they've gone far away as the very best DPI implemented in the world. Kenya is also doing the same thing. I understand we have a lot of fragmented initiatives coming from private and the government, but are still not connected, are still stand alone in such a way that today, if I need a NIDA, I'll give an example. If I need a NIDA, I have to go to NIDA physically, right? But if I have a DPI, I can apply my NIDA where I am, because the DPI will integrate it with the other government institution or government agents. So it will help us to have a pure digital integrated, and will support the financial inclusion. Thanks.
So I think for me, the question that Angelica put earlier on, or the suggestion that our policies should move faster than the technology, I think probably a result of this session or discussions after should be what policies need to change at what pace. We have seen the transformative power of technology, especially in the financial sector, and especially in banking, not so much probably in insurance and other sectors. So I think, I think we cannot allow to move at the same pace that we have moved over the last 10, 20 years. For me, I think if we cannot attain 100% in the next 5 years, we are being lazy. But the question should be, the industry should come to the central bank and policy-making bodies generally saying, what policies need to change now to allow 100%?
How can your companies and organizations work with young girls like me to help us and involve in participating in the economic using AI and digital payments?
Of course, we have a date after here. We have agreed to meet so that they can understand more of what you do. I think we need to go deeper to have this conversation for us to understand where we can work together.
I think from a public sector perspective, one way we can include you is also in giving you and kids like you a better educational experience than the one we had. As the ambassador said, in the next 25 years, I mean, I don't know if it's true or not, but the educational experience will be completely different. The educational experience today is very different from the educational experience that we had. It's going to be more tech-infused, and we and our educational policies have to change in order for you and your friends and your brothers and sisters to be able, to realize their full potential. And I think part of that also is being able to, I don't know how to put this, but to make you seen, so that us as financial sector providers actually know, okay, this is Okoth, this is so-and-so, this is so-and-so. And the best way to do that is by giving you an ID from birth, not just your birth certificate, but a way for you to actually be identified, seen, and known by those who need to serve you. So I think those are just the three. So like I said, not one answer, it's several, and I'm sure others will add to what I've already said. Thanks.
There are very many initiatives that are targeting women and the youth. Very many, but perhaps fragmented, perhaps, clear communication is not there, but there are several initiatives that target women and youth. The question then is, how do we ensure that information is available? I think it's upon all of us. As we meet here, we can link you to one or two or three the respective institutions that are taking these initiatives. They can also have specific programs to go to, labs like what you were mentioning, and so on. There is no one answer, but we need to be active and we need to share the information. I think part of the problem is information is not flowing very well. Maybe IBD and other platforms can also help in this aspect.
So Tasi Africa have a very nifty, using a very nifty AI tool on their site where you can put in your information and it's linked with the central bank. I believe they're also linked with MNOs and with several banks, and it gives you a comparison. It tells you what service you want, compares the services in the market for you, and then can tailor make it specifically for you, whether you're looking at a loan or a credit facility. So going back to that, kind of thinking about where is that information being housed, how do people access it? And of course the idea of 16 and under is something we need to actively be thinking about. Sosilis, I don't know if you want to weigh in on that or we can go into some of the other questions.
I just wanted to share a little experience. When mobile phones started and when mobile money was introduced, we had a challenge of onboarding women. And one of the reasons why women were scared was because if they received that text to say I have to cash within 24 hours, if it's not cash, the money goes back. So these women are not going to those agents. So the risk was exposure. Nitaonekana sijui, nitaibika. So what happened? Who actually solved the problem? It was the children, because of exposure. So the mother was confident and safer to talk to a child, to say, mwanangu, hivi simu unafanya fanyaje hapa? Then the child takes her mother, or whether it's a father, through that technology. Because there are programs at some of the schools that are exposing people to computers, laptops, and phones. Mm-hmm. So just imagine the power of that child. Where did the child learn? So answer me now, where did the child learn? It's peer, they learn from each other in their groups. So I think to answer the question this little daughter is talking about today, one way is to go back to the parents, because we have a duty, we have a responsibility. We purpose the money. she wants to study. So if you think about her future, how do we start involving her in that investment plan, in that saving plan, now that we have digital platforms, that you can actually purpose the money at any pace you want. In that way, they are not only getting exposed to technology and these advancements, but they're also learning their financial behavior. Our financial behavior, it's a ladder. It starts with awareness, then you have to be knowledgeable about how these solutions work. Everybody in this room engages in money matters, either for savings, purposes, or for risk management purpose, or for asset building, for investment purposes. And this is the function of money. We were scared when we were growing up to be given money. Tunapewa tu hela kidogo ya shule, sivyo? Because the rest of the money is kept by our parents. We need to expose our kids now. Not actually, they are there, because we are giving them money. And they have the funds, and therefore they can transact. Our investment through social responsibility, through financial literacy, through wealth management, wealth building, creation, and preservation, we have a good evidence here that how many of these kids in the country are thinking like this. And therefore, how do we protect them from going astray? I think even the policies, I've heard of the digital ID platform. That is perfect because they have to be identified. And then access to funds, which is happening today. And therefore, the use cases are actually taking our kids through these money functions early on.
Thank you so much, Sosthenes. So I'm going to open it up for the next round of questions. Angelica, if you could respond to the question on money laundering. I'm wondering if Mr. Issa and Eric, you could respond to the question around different financial models. That was a question from John. And then for Sosthenes, if you can, your top 3 policy recommendations. And DPI, yes. I don't know if anybody wants to tackle the question on DPI. You'll try? Okay. I don't know if the gentleman from the central bank, would you like to tackle the question on DPI? Digital public infrastructure? No? Okay. So we'll run it through Angelica, Eric, and Mr. Issa. Come back to you, Eric, and then to Sosthenes. Is that good?
Okay. Yes, thank you. Thank you for the question, and the conversations have been very interesting, very nice questions, very engaging. But to start with, I would like to pick from what Sosthenes was talking about. The kids who helped their parents then, I would like to say I was one of those kids. So for the question for mobile money, security and trust. This is one of the fundamental aspects when you're dealing with money. So I would like to start by assuring you that our platforms are very secure and safe. But if you're looking at the link, the weakest link in security is usually the human. Okay? So the person has to break some of the protocols that exist. For you to access your account, you have a PIN, and this PIN is your secret. If you don't keep it well, if you do not secure it, then somebody can get access to your money. So the most important thing is we are very secure, but the human aspect of security has to also happen. You need to take care of the PIN, you need to take care of your account, and in case there's a time you've come to a time and you think your PIN is no longer safe, change it. We have all that enabled very easily, and you can do it yourself. You do it yourself, you don't ask anybody to do it for you. And never share your PIN with anybody, even if somebody says, "Hi, I'm Angelica Pesha from Mix, what is your PIN?" It's a no, no, no. So do not do that, because this is where the break comes in. But that goes to education, that goes to literacy levels, and that goes to communication. So it's very simple for me to say this, but not everybody has heard it maybe. So we keep communicating, encouraging, and teaching our customers the importance of security. But to another point of, you send a name and you don't see, you send money and you don't see the name. This is a very interesting challenge or problem that you've raised up, because over 7 years ago, we did implement what we call name check, name confirmation. I think from Sosthenes' example, again, he talked about in the past, money would go as a voucher, you needed to go to the agent and you get, the agent gives you the money. So the development enhancements that we've been doing, money goes straight to your wallet. And before it used to show the number, we came to name. So before you actually put in your PIN, you see I'm sending money to Angelica Pesha. So you're secure, you're safe, you know that where you're sending your money. If there's a time this happens, these are systems. It could be a glitch in the system. But the process itself, before you send money, you'll see a full name for every transaction, what we call name confirmation. This has been enabled throughout all our processes and all our transactions. So that is very important to note and to be aware of. Before I give the mic to someone else, just to highlight some of the points from one of the questions about, we're talking about financial inclusion, but we're coming to a point we are missing a lot of activity. We talked about the bigger aspect. So I think there's so many players in the financial ecosystem, and the financial ecosystem is huge. So different people are here to do different things. That is why I believe in collaboration, because we coexist. All of us can play together and we get value for the companies and value for our people. When I sit with banks, they are my collaborators. Sometimes people will think we are competing, but we are collaborating because it's essence for everybody. So I think we haven't gone to places like, if you go back to Mr. Issa, fund managers. Some of these things are still new to us. We're talking about crypto. It is a conversation that is very developed outside here, but in Tanzania we're still, we're still not yet there. Crowdfunding. It is something that is helping, especially businesses, business people raise fund. It is something that is not yet an everyday activity in our country. But all these are part of the growth that we are looking at. We've done so much, but there's so much to still do. There are still gaps that we need to close, and these are part of the gaps in the financial ecosystem that we need to keep innovating and inventing. Thank you.
Sorry, Angelica, before we move on, and because I know Mix has these products built in, there's been a question that's come in from the floor around the role of Vikobas and Sakoses in escalating money, right? And moving money around within the business. Can you speak to that?
So when it comes to product development, the essence of what we develop, all partnerships that we do, is we look at the challenges in the society. What are the real issues in the community, or what are the support that the community needs to build products and services. Now, we talk about financial inclusion. You can't have financial inclusion if there is no saving. So to that, we've come up with a product that we call Kibubu that helps you save any amount at any time. But we understand saving yourself, you save 10 shillings, 20 shillings. If you pull the funds, 10 of you, you can save faster, you can support each other faster. And we've seen this in Vikoba. So not to go, and innovation not every time should be bringing in something very complex. The best innovations are the simplicity of whatever is already happening in the real world and digitize it, which is what we've done with our Kikoba product, Mix Kikoba. Simply digitize what was already existing to make them have it digitally, to make it efficient and easier. So the Kikoba product allows people to bring in their money and keep supporting. And this is how we build funds. It's a crowdfunding of some sort that has helped a lot of women, and I know a lot of women, we have Vikobas. Without Vikobas, financial inclusion is not happening for women. So it's one of the areas that has helped us raise funds, put funds together to support each other in our journeys as women. So Vikoba is one of the key products that we have brought in, that we're looking at. But again, we are talking about investment. Recently, we partnered with DSC in order to enable DSC app on our super app.
If you know that person, smile and turn to your right. If you don't know that person, give them your business card, introduce yourself, right? And if you know both people, go to the next table and say, hi, I am so-and-so, I do ABCD, exchange business cards. This is what we want to do. Please move around, look for someone you do not know, say hello, tell them what you do, which organization you come from. Tell them what your organization does. Exchange business cards. There's gonna be a prize.